This is the scanning report for the 10th best prospect according to Basin Avenue. Right here, the picture, Jack Winninger. Now, before we get into this video, I need you to hit the subscribe button for the Prospect Hut. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. And, of course, watch the entirety of this video. Top 25 best prospects for 2026. Jack Winninger at number 10. Next on their list is a right-handed pitcher. Robert Echo Sr. and Robert Echo Jr. Jack Winninger's grandfather and uncle, respectively, both played baseball at the University of Wisconsin. But Jack decided to not follow in their footsteps, instead committing to Murray State University after graduating from Cary Grove Community High School in 2020. Winninger's numbers in his freshman season were only pedestrian, posting a 5.26 ERA and 51 1/3 innings over 16 games, with 46 hits allowed, 27 walks, and 42 strikeouts. He entered the transfer portal after the season and transferred to the University of Illinois, where head coach Dan Hartleb saw promise in his size, increasing fastball velocity, and improving secondary pitches. Okay. Now, of course, please hit the subscribe button. The right-hander appeared in 15 games his first season with the Fightin' Illini in 2022 and posted 5.71 ERA and 34 2/3 innings over 15 appearances, allowing 30 hits, walking 21, and striking out 30. That's something he pitched for the Wazoo Woodchucks of the Northwoods League and posted a 2.54 ERA and 46 innings over 10 games, all starts, allowing 37 hits, walking 21, striking out 42. He returned to Illinois for the 2023 season and became a mainstay of the team's weekend rotation. The right-hander appeared in 15 games, starting 14 of them, and posted a 4.59 ERA and 80 1/3 innings, allowing 69 hits, walking 28, and striking out 76. Following the conclusion of the season, he pitched some supplementary innings with the Williamsport Crosscutters of the MLB Draft League. The right-hander made 3 starts there and allowed 6 earned runs over 11 innings, while allowing 9 hits, walking 7, and striking out 19. In early July, the Mets drafted Winninger in the 6th round of the 2023 MLB Draft, the 186th player selected overall, and signed him to a $225,000 signing bonus, below the MLB assigned slot value of $299,000 plus. Winninger appeared in 2 combined games with the Florida Complex League Mets and the St. Lucie Mets to finish out his year and allowed 2 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings, giving up 1 hit, walking 2, and striking out 4. Winninger was assigned to the St. Lucie Mets to begin the 2024 season, struggled early on. The 22-year-old hurler appeared in 15 games for them, making 10 starts, posting a 5.02 ERA and 71 2/3 innings, allowing 67 hits, walking 23, and striking out 89. He was promoted to the High A Brooklyn Cyclones in mid-July, finished out the season in Coney Island, having a much better go at it, assisted by the pitcher-friendly confines, and I can't pronounce the word, sorry, in Brooklyn. Appearing in 10 games and making 9 starts, he posted a 3.12 ERA and 43 1/3 innings, allowing 40 hits, walking 17, and striking out 51. Altogether, he posted a combined 4.30 ERA, 115 innings in his first professional season, allowing 107 total hits, walking 40, and striking out 140. His 140 strikes was second most in the entire Mets minor league system, trailing Jonah Tong and his 160 punch-outs that he had. Promoted to Double-A Binghamton for the 25 season, Winninger was even better, pitching the shadows of more noteworthy prospects such as Nolan McLean, Jonah Tong, and former prospect Brandon Sproat. Jack Winninger was just as good, appearing in 26 games for the Roma Ponies and posting a 2.92 ERA and 135 2/3 innings, allowing 114 hits, walking 42, and striking out 147. For a second consecutive year, his strikeout total was the second most in the system, tied with R.J. Gordon behind Jonah Tong once again. The right-hander ended his season on a high, as high and low as possible, shoving in the Eastern League Championship game, winning game, throwing 5 innings, allowing 2 runs on 3 hits and 2 walks while striking out a whopping 11. The 6'4", 215-pound Winninger has a high-waisted frame, throwing from a high 3/4 arm slot with a simple delivery that utilizes a leg kick and a long arm action through the back. He gets good extension off the mound and keeps his upper and lower halves in sync. His arm is clean, loose, and repeatable, allowing him to consistently throw strikes and keep unintentional walks to a minimum. The right-handed throws both a 4-seam and 2-seam fastball, the latter used more so against right-handed hitters to keep them honest with an offering that breaks towards them. Both fastballs sit in the low to mid-90s with his 4-seam fastball velocity up in 2025, topping out at 98 miles per hour on occasion, but comfortably averaging 94. Thanks to his tall frame, extension, and high arm slot and release point, the pitch gets above average ride up in the zone. Wenninger's main secondary offering is an extremely effective split change. The pitch to plus offering sits in the low to mid-80s with a low spin rate that causes it to absolutely drop off the table. He can throw it in all 4 quadrants of the zone, throwing it up and letting it drop in for strikes, and throwing it low and letting it drop off out of the zone for chases and whiffs. He's comfortable throwing the pitch against left-handed and right-handed batters. The pitcher's horizontal movement breaking in on right-handed hitters, in addition to his downward dive. Coming into the 2025 season, Wenninger supplemented his fastball changeup combo with a cutter curveball and a slider that were all get-me-over offerings that flashed average. But he has refined his arsenal since. His cutter and slider, already brothers on the pitch spectrum, have melded into a single pitch, a tight mid-80s gyro slider. Using a different grip, his curveball now has more bite to it. While breaking pitches are now average offerings, their effectiveness amplified by his ability to command them and throw them for strikes. The improvements made to his arsenal have helped minimize the reverse platoon splits that he was beginning to show. In 2024, right-handed hitters averaged a .262 batting line and 254 plate appearances, while left-handed hitters averaged .213 against him and 248 plate appearances. Now, he's a very intriguing prospect, and he's gotten bumped up with the trade of Brandon Sproat on the depth chart. So he's now up a couple of slots. Be interesting to see this list, which was done, I guess, in November and December, was all compiled. What's going to happen now with the Brandon Sproat part of this list and the Jeff Williams part of this list? But we'll find out, very shortly. They post these every day during the week, from Monday through Friday, and it'll be interesting. I will not be reading it. By the way, I won't be reading their scan reports for Jeff Williams or for Brandon Sproat. I had that on the channel, and you can check it out. I have their drafting, what their draft scan reports are or were. So you need to check those out. But just to let you know. So you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, this is the scan report for the Mets' 10th best prospect. I guess he's not the 8th best prospect in the Mets system, and that is right-handed pitcher Jack Wenninger. Mets made a trade on Friday. They traded right-handed pitcher Cooper Criswell to the Mariners for cash. Now, if you didn't know, the Mets had designated for assignment Criswell because they needed to make space because they made that blockbuster trade for Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers, so they needed the space. Now, what's great about getting cash in return is cash doesn't walk the bases loaded, and cash doesn't strike out with the bases loaded. So it's one of these trades that just happens during the season or before the season. And if you didn't hear about this, if you're not on X, you can see this. Hit the subscribe button for the Baseball Hut, and of course, follow me on Facebook. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So we're going to talk about the Mets roster a little bit. It's early. We know it's early. But the Mets have had quite the upheaval this offseason. It's a completely different team, quite frankly. Guys that have been here for a long time, years and years and years and years are no longer here with the Mets. And we're going to learn a lot about this new team. I think the one takeaway was they brought in guys that were good clubhouse guys guys that are tough on the field. We may not get them to post, meaning, Peter Alonso plays every day. Brandon Nimmo gets out there every day. Jeff McNeil gets out there every day. These guys have been a little injury prone here and there over the last few years, but the clubhouse was a problem, as you know, for the last several years, and which really was holding this group back. I saw different things with WFAN, with the Craig Carton mentioning the families weren't getting along in that clubhouse. The wives weren't getting along in the clubhouse. Now, if you have a wife or girlfriend, and you have a friend that has a girlfriend, a wife, and they don't get along, you're going to have problems. So, and that's a distraction. But the new players seem to be all like, hopefully this team's going in the right direction, going in the same direction. We'll find out pretty quickly, because the season we'll go through that we have coming will be gone before we know it. By the time we know it, it'll be in October or November of this year. And we won't be talking, or we'll be in the summer at some point dealing with 95-degree weather, unlike what we're going to be dealing with this weekend, with 7-degree weather. I mean, some places in Canada is like minus 40. No joke, minus 45 degrees. That's from SNY. Way too early. Mets 26-man roster prediction 2026. And let me sort of give you, again, I was here when we talked about Freddy Peralta live. I can't tell you how big of a move that is for this club. Now, I'm going to skip over some of this stuff because it doesn't matter last year. As recently as 10 days ago, the Mets were still very much an unfinished product. No kidding. They had added Semyon's Gold Glove to second base. Devin, I would mention about some of his production at second base. That is an improvement over what they've had as a grouping with the Beatty and Acuna and Jeff McNeil. So the 15 home runs that he hit, or 16 home runs or whatever it was, is an improvement from what they had there. And he's one of these players, he'll have some rough years, then he'll have a big year. Maybe he'll get a second life being here with the Mets, third or fourth life. Devin Williams to close, which was a shock. The Mets wanted to bring back Edwin Diaz. That's the one move that he walked away, got more money. Luke Weaver to set up, and Jorge Polanco to help fill out the void left by Alonso. But Dave Stern's full plan hadn't yet come into fruition. Then in one wild week, they lost on Kyle Tucker. Next morning, they signed Bo Bichette. They traded for Luis Robert Jr. The next day, they picked up in a blockbuster trade Freddy Peralta for two big prospects the Mets had. Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams. So a lot has happened, but let's go through the lineup a little bit and what to expect. Francisco Alvarez behind the plate. He'll be catching for the Mets. He has to up the production. He's got to get better. He's got to get better defensively. He's got to get better offensively. I know people talked about how the offense looked good. I did not think he was good at all most of the year. He picked it up after he came back from the minors, but major problem. That lack of production hurt this team. At first base, Jorge Polanco will be the first baseman, learning first base. Mets are going to have a cavalcade of guys playing first. He'll be there. Mark Vientos will be there. Brett Beatty will be there. Jorge Polanco's a guy that's driven in like 90 runs a few times, 25, 30 home runs a few times in his past career. And he had a big postseason last year for the Mariners. That's the thing about these newer guys. Polanco and Bichette in particular are big RBI guys late in the game. Marcus Semien, he's going to give you Gold Glove defense. I already covered him a little bit. Francisco Lindor, let's get what they got from Lindor to be in good shape. I'm going to assume that he'll be batting leadoff. Bo Bichette, professional hitter, hits everybody and hits big pitching and hits it late. He hit a big home run against Shohei Ohtani in Game 7 of the World Series. If they were able to get the last 3 outs, he would have been the hero of Toronto. Maybe he stays in Toronto if he hit that, if that home run had counted for the W. But that didn't happen. And then he was going to sign with the Phillies. The Philly fans are pissed off about it. And now he's with the Mets though. Skip the next player, Luis Robert Jr. I'm rather dubious about the player, but the production is a massive improvement over nothing, which is what they had last year in center field. Right field, we don't have to worry about the next 4 years. Juan Soto is going to put up big numbers. He's going to have a big year from start to finish. And then they have on here Brett Beatty as the designated hitter. I don't think he's going to be DHing so much. He'll be playing first, third, second, probably left field, unless they move him. That's a possibility. And but they don't have Jet Williams now, who's going to be that sort of guy. He'll be that guy for the Brewers. But Beatty, they put him as DH. We'll see how he plays. I was not unhappy with the way he played in the second half. And he really picked it up defensively. But that's the Mets' everyday lineup going into, well, in January right now. Obviously, things could change. And then, of course, there's Carson Bench. And he's going to be given every opportunity to make this team. He cannot fall on his face. If he falls on his face, he's going to be gone. But if he plays well, does what he has to do, he'll be starting at the very least on this team. Just ban him like 7th or 8th in the lineup. Leave him alone. I've not seen him, so I can't give you an idea of what kind of player he is. But he has a pedigree in college. He was a pitcher. He was an outfielder. And he's considered one of the best outfield prospects in the game. The 5th best according to, I guess, MLB.com. He is a top 20 prospect. So he's a player that's going to be very good. Let's start in rotation. Let's have a bunch of guys now. I don't know if they're going to move anybody. But we got Freddy Peralta. We know all about him. Solidifies the top of this rotation. And that was the thing that they really lacked last year. Nolan McLean takes a lot of pressure off of McLean. He's going into the season as the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year. Sean Manaea, we'll see what happens with him. Hopefully he pitches as well as he did in the second half, but the way he pitched last year is very similar to how he's pitched at good portions of his career. Clay Holmes, who pitched really well for the Mets in the first year as a starter. We'll see how he handles the second year of workload and whether the Mets can stretch him out a little bit more. But he pitched great. I mean, he really did. He pitched really, really well for the Mets. David Peterson, we'll see if he gets moved. He could get moved based on the fact that he's got 1 year left on his contract. The Mets are not going to sign him to a big deal. Then there's Kodai Senga. We'll see. The Mets could not move him. They weren't happy with the returns they were getting for him. But I also mentioned Tobias Myers, who they picked up in that trade with the Brewers. That guy could be a starter too for the Mets and be the long man or be in the bullpen. He's going to be a very massive pickup for the Mets. Jonah Tong. He's probably going to go back down to AAA. I was not all that impressed with him. He needs a little work. You know, the stuff is very raw. He's very immature as a pitcher. He needs more experience in AAA. Going up against a veteran, fringe major leaguers, he needs a little work. And the new pitching coach here, Justin Willard, would help him in terms of the control, because obviously one of the reasons Jeremy Hefner's not here is because the Mets walk batters like crazy. You can't keep, defend against runs if you're walking batters. Christian Scott, can't forget about him. He'll be coming back, but just send him to minor leagues and let him pitch and see how that works out. They posted a couple of pitchers here. We got Jonathan Santucci and Jack Winninger. These guys are in Double-A. They could get a shot this year if there's injuries. And, of course, there's Will Watson, who's the guy that actually might be better than them. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on him. And that's the rotation. The bullpen, we got Devin Williams. We'll see how he pitches. He has not been the same since Pete Alonso broke him in the 24 NL wildcard series. Luke Weaver is going to be in this bullpen. Brooks Raley, he pitched really well last year. Luis Garcia, who they signed just recently the other day. Can't forget about AJ Minter. We'll see. He might be with the Mets by June. They mentioned Tobias Myers. We've got Adbert Azalea, who's a guy they signed last year to a 2-year deal. He was dealing with Tommy John. The guy that scares me out of this grouping is Brazoban. Shouldn't be here. He pitched so poorly last year that he shouldn't be here, to be honest with you. Now here's the bench. Now, I don't get too worked up about the bench, just due to the fact this bench is going to change. We got Tyrone Taylor, Luis Torrens behind the plate, Mark Vientos, and Vidal Brujan they picked up the other day. Ronnie Mauricio's still sticking around. Jared Young is still here. Be interesting to see if the Mets move Ronnie Mauricio or Mark Vientos. Ronnie Mauricio has to play. So either he's going to be here and plays every day. Can't have him on the bench. The same thing with Mark Vientos, quite frankly. They're too young to be sitting around. But we'll see. It's early still. There might be guys that come into camp and this goes throughout the whole roster that you wouldn't think much of, and they'll be here in April. I mean, it's like, revolving door of players coming in, coming out, coming in, coming out. That's how it was last year in particular. A little out of control last year with all these pitchers. Like 90, 95 pitchers came in here and pitched for the Mets. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut. The amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hut. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So we're talking about the SNY, the Mets, broadcast home. We have not heard any kind of word on Keith Hernandez's extension. He's looking to sign 3 more years to be one of the analysts on the network, but we haven't heard anything yet. I don't think we have any concern with that, to be honest with you, but it is something of note. But we have a sort of a interesting note about the direction of the broadcast, and this is from Yahoo Sports. It's being reported a lot of different places. But SNY's popular Mets director leaving network over different creative directions. Now, these are some of the great broadcasts in baseball. Very innovative, okay? Like, they were the first to show the camera in the booth during these great, plays, walk-offs, big hits, big plays in the field, strikeouts. That's one of the things that was great, and all the other broadcasts and all the other networks do it. I wish we'd seen stuff in the past and seen the broadcasters' reactions. That was always, I've been thinking about that for the last year. How great would it have been to see Johan Santana's no-hitter in 2012, or the Mets winning the pennant in 2015, or any number of things. Here's the article. There will be a significant change concerning Mets broadcast this season on SNY. Longtime director John Damarcico is departing the network after 17 seasons at the helm of the game broadcast featuring the popular Blue Trio of Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, and Ron Darling. Quote, "This wasn't easy to write. Thank you for taking a moment with it," Damarcico wrote on X. "After 17 seasons with the Mets on SNY, my time directing games there has come to an end. Quote, I was incredibly fortunate to help tell the story of this team for nearly half my life. After a lifetime of fandom that made the opportunity feel almost impossible when it began. From the very start, I believed deeply in the idea that baseball is cinema. I poured myself into that belief. Grateful for the trust to take creative risks in service of the game and the fans who embraced them. Without specifics, the Emmy-winning director cited the broadcast moving in a different creative direction as one reason for his departure. Damarcico added that he's unsure of his next professional move. Now, as you know, if you don't know, the Wilpon family still own SNY, and I think they'll own it for a few more years, then 5 more years. So this they've had this for a long time. Quote, coming to terms with that hasn't been easy about this next move from Damarcico, especially when the work mattered this much and I felt so deeply tied to who I am, he wrote. Mets baseball and the community around it became part of my identity in ways I'm still processing. It doesn't disappear just because a chapter ends. I've never been a free agent before. I'm taking a breath, looking ahead, carrying a lot of pride and gratitude with me, while remaining open to the next place where that same care, curiosity, belief, and storytelling can live. I love this game, this art form, this crew, and the fans who made it matter. And I'll miss it more than I can put into words. Thank you for watching. Okay, I mean, I never really thought much about these directors, just in terms of, who's doing what. The one guy we always knew about going back to the 80s was Bill Webb, who was the guy they always talked about in the booth, and he was also a guy that worked at, for Fox Sports and all the big networks, that was the guy that we all remember, Bill Webb. I guess he had taken over for Bill Webb when Bill had passed away. But these are some of the best broadcasts in the game. It's a shame that he's leaving, but the talent, the important talent, in terms of the broadcast, are still there. Gary Cohen's still there, Ron Darwin's still there, and hopefully Keith will be there to sort of provide a very interesting season. It's going to be a very interesting year. This has been a year of change, of massive change within the Mets organization, on the field, apparently, behind the camera, behind the scenes. This is going to be a really huge changing moment for all of us, and we have to sort of, things are going to be different. But hopefully this is a seamless transition. Whoever they bring in is a seamless thing. I don't know what they mean by creative direction. It's basically the same. The camera behind the plate, the camera in center field, cameras positioned in different places so you can see what's going on in the dugout, close-ups of the fans, close-ups of the players, replays. I never thought of this as a cinematic experience, to be honest with you, but this will be a change. I guess we'll feel it visually over the next season. But you let me know what you think about this video, and of course, this is the Baseball Hut 3. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. And welcome back to the Prospect Hut. We talk about Mets prospects, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Mets' 11th best prospect according to AmazingAvenue.com, and that is infielder, second baseman infielder, Mitch Voit. And before we get into this video, I need you to hit the subscribe button and like this video. The 25 Mets prospects for 2026. At number 11, Mitch Voit. Next on their list is an infielder. Milwaukee native Mitch Voit attended Whitefish Bay High School in the eponymous Whitefish Bay, a suburb of Milwaukee. Hoping to one day follow in the footsteps of alums Craig Counsell, Voit put on a show in his senior season, hitting .581 with 10 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, 33 stolen bases in 34 attempts, and 10 walks to 7 strikeouts. All while doing that, he also appeared in 10 games as a pitcher, going a perfect 10-0, posting a 0.45 ERA and 46 2/3 innings with 16 hits allowed, 11 walks, and 78 strikeouts. He won a slew of prestigious awards, including the 2022 Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year in Wisconsin. Considered one of the best players available in the 22 MLB draft from Wisconsin, Voit went unselected in the draft and on his commitment to the University of Michigan. Okay? In his first year at the University of Michigan, the 18-year-old appeared in 54 games and hit .267 with 9 doubles, 1 triple, 7 home runs, 18 walks to 50 strikeouts. Currently, he appeared in 19 games as a pitcher, making 1 start and posted a 3.25 ERA in 36 innings with 31 hits allowed, 12 walks, and 25 strikeouts. That summer, he played for the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox of the Cape Cod Collegiate League, went 3-11 in 6 games, 3 for 11 in 6 games, while throwing 3 scoreless innings in 2 games with 2 hits allowed, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. Returned to Michigan for his sophomore season in 2024, Voit once again pulled down double duty, hitting and pitching. As a hitter, he appeared in 59 games and hit .292 with 20 doubles, 2 triples, 14 home runs, 5 stolen bases. As a pitcher, he appeared in 10 games, all starts, and posted a 5.49 ERA in 62 1/3 innings, allowing 72 hits, walking 16, and striking out 41. Voit started his last game on April 21st, but did not pitch again that spring, despite still getting into games for the Wolverines. Later that summer, Voit underwent internal brace surgery on his right elbow, his pitching arm. Very interesting. These two-way players are just incredible athletes. In 2025, his junior season, Voit did not pitch, keeping the possibility open to returning to the mound, but focusing on hitting for the season. Appearing in 56 games, he hit .346 with 17 doubles, 4 triples, 14 home runs, 14 stolen bases, 40 walks to 34 strikeouts. He was drafted by the Mets with their first selection in the 2025 draft, the 38th pick overall. After agreeing to terms with the club for a $1.75 million signing bonus, roughly $820,000 underslot, he was assigned to the Single A St. Lucie team, where he finished out the season. Appearing in 22 games for them, the 20-year-old infielder hit .235 with 2 doubles, 1 home run, and 20 stolen bases in 21 attempts. Voit stands square at the plate with his hands at about eye level. He held his bat upright, angled at 130, while playing with the Wolverines, but the Mets have since altered his mechanics to rest his bat much lower, almost perpendicular to the ground until his load, where he lifts the bat up to 130. He swings with very minimal load and weight transfer, attacking the ball as it comes to him, pulling it at a 50.8% rate, going back up the middle at an 18% rate, and going to the opposite field at 31.1% rate. In limited at-bats in 2025 with St. Lucie, he averaged an 88.2 mile per hour exit velocity in all measured batted ball events, with a maximum of 104.2 miles per hour. 19 of his 38 batted ball events resulted in exit velocities above 90 miles per hour. 10 resulted in exit velocities above 95 miles per hour, and 3 resulted in exit velocities above 100. With an average launch angle of 11 degrees, 46.6% of the balls Voit put in play ended up ground balls, 22.4 ended up line drives, and 31 ended up fly balls. Most of his home run power is to his pull side, where he barrels and lifts the ball, but he has no problem shooting line drive extra base hits back up the middle or to the opposite field. While his strikeout rate spiked in limited at-bats, his walk rate remains fairly static as compared to his collegiate days. Voit is a polished hitter who generally makes good swing decisions. His C contact percent was slightly below average compared to the MLB average, but his zero negative contact percent was in line with it. While he did not show any platoon splits at Michigan, Voit struggled against left-handers in his limited at-bats with St. Lucie in 2025, hitting 158 with no extra base hits, a walk, and 5 strikeouts, as opposed to 258 with 2 doubles and a home run and 12 walks and 19 strikeouts and 66 at-bats against right-handed pitchers. This is very limited. Voit is athletic and above-average runner who has the potential to be a stolen base threat as well. In 20 games at St. Lucie, he stole 20 bases in 21 attempts and was regularly a nuisance on the base paths. Defensively, Voit has only recently found a home where he excels. Prior to the 2025 season, he appeared in 34 games at first, 51 games at third, 1 game at short, and a handful in both corner outfield positions. In 2025, he appeared in all 56 games he played with the Wolverines at second and spent 12 of his 22 games at St. Lucie as well. Scouts and evaluators seem to all agree that Voit's best suited at second base currently, but thanks to his strong arm and athleticism, he could make the outfield his long-term home, with more reps and development there. When he last pitched, Voit possessed a fastball that sits around 90 miles per hour, topping out 93 miles per hour, a low 80s gyro slider, a mid-70s curveball, and a changeup that hovered around 80 miles per hour. While he was drafted as a two-way player, Voit was quickly reclassified as a second baseman by the organization, signaling that he is unlikely to actually take the mound in any meaningful capacity. Now, when he got sent to St. Lucie, we would get all kinds of highlight clips of him playing second base. So he has the potential, they didn't mention this, he has the potential to be an excellent second baseman, just due to the fact that he's very athletic and he has a strong arm. He's got a chance to be really good at second. But we'll see. I don't know how long it's going to take him to get to the majors. I've not seen him, obviously. Be interesting to see if we see him in spring training. Maybe we'll get to see him at the end of the spring, filling in here or there. But he's a very exciting prospect. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to the Prospect Hut. And this is the scouting report for the Mets' 11th best prospect, according to Amazing Avenue, Mitch Voit. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Host the Hut. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So, as you know, the Mets signed Bo Bichette, stole him away from the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not the first time the Mets have stolen something from the Phillies. Well, ever since 2007, 2008, when they stole divisions 2 years in a row, Mets got to get back even some way. And of course, the Mets have destroyed the Phillies at Citi Field. I can't remember the last time the Phillies have beaten the Mets at Citi Field. 2-3 years, is it? Something like that. And of course, the Mets beat them in the postseason in 2024. First time they ever faced each other. And as you know, the Mets threw a no-hitter against the Phillies in 2022. Now, I went to Philadelphia in September 2024. I got invited. Had great seats sat behind the plate. But the one thing that was interesting was how the fans talked about the club, talked about the Mets. There was a lady sitting in front of us, and she's like, "Oh, the Mets are our rival." And I'm thinking, growing up, I never thought the Phillies were the Mets' rivals. Never once. I still don't think that way. Maybe they are. I don't think that way. I always thought the Cardinals were the Mets' rival, the Cubs, the Pirates, the Braves, the Phillies. No way. I didn't think that way until 2007. 2008. Certainly didn't think that when I was going down there. But it seems that the Philadelphia Phillies fans are very obsessed with, our New York Mets, America's team. And this continues on. The sort of the level of the meltdown of the Bo Bichette signing is funny to watch it because they are beside themselves. Because they had him, they were going to sign him. They had him. I'm not exaggerating. The Phillies had him signed. But then once the whole thing with Tucker fell apart, the Mets had to pivot very quickly, and they had all these things lined up with Bichette. Don't drag your feet on a player, I will say that. Don't drag your feet. Don't drag your feet. I got this interesting article from Awful Announcing, as always. And what's interesting about this is even the broadcasters, folks, get so upset when the Mets win games, when the Mets win out on these free agents. I just don't get it. I mean, they've been winning divisions. They beat the Mets. Again, they beat the Mets in 2007, although that's very shaky, in my opinion. And we'll get into that very soon in this video. This is from Awful Announcing. Let me read you the headlines. Ridiculous. Phillies broadcaster insists Mets are losers. Well, they did win getting Bo Bichette. Ben Davis believes the Mets give off the vibe that they're just a losing organization. No. That's all made up bullshit. It's all made up bullshit. It really is. Nearly a week has passed since Bo Bichette spurned a long-term deal from the Phillies to sign with the New York Mets, and the Philadelphia faithful still haven't moved on. They might never move on. Their NL East rivals are having an offseason to remember. While the Phillies running back with the same underperforming core, the Mets have had Bo Bichette, Freddy Peralta, which was a major trade for the Mets, Tobias Myers, and Luis Robert Jr., among others. One Philadelphia broadcaster remains unconvinced that the team in Queens is committed to winning. Ben Davis, who often fills in as the Phillies' color voice for John Kruk, called the Mets losers, dismissing Bichette's claim at his introductory press conference that New York's commitment to winning attracted him. Ben Davis, who was the second pick in the 1995 draft to the Padres, a washed-up, failed player. What a waste. I don't know what happened there. He was a catcher. What a waste. Quote, "It's a joke," Davis said. "You're just going to go where you get the best deal for you and get the most money. Whether you stunk or not, you're still going to get the most money possible. And the fact that there's a losing organization up there, it just is, there's something about them that they give off the vibe that they're losing." Ben, I'm sure if you were, I think there's a little jealousy here. Because Ben would have done the same thing. He would have taken the most money possible. they're the Mets. So naturally, by virtue, they're losers, according to him, even though the Phillies own the worst winning percentage in MLB history. Quote, they give off the vibe that they're just a losing organization, Davis added. And the fact that he says that they're committed to winning, there's only a handful of teams that aren't committed to winning. But the fact that he says that, like the Phillies aren't, come on, man. Blow that smoke somewhere else. He's just trying to be nice, dude. The Phillies offered Bichette a 7-year, $200 million contract, or $28.5 million annually. The Mets countered with 3 years of $126 million, $42 million per year, with opt-outs after each of the first 2 seasons. Bichette chose the Mets deal, and it happened quick. The difference came down to structure. The Phillies don't offer opt-outs. Bryce Harper doesn't have one. Trey Turner doesn't have one. Dombrowski said Tuesday he doesn't believe in them and won't change their philosophy. So Bichette took the Mets' flexibility and higher annual salary over Philadelphia's long-term security. Dombrowski and the Phillies are antiquated in how they're doing business. You have to give out opt-outs. That's how it is now. That way the players can get more money and then go back on the market the following year. They have a big year, they get more money. The Phillies responded by re-signing JT Realmuto and running back the same core that flamed out in the NLDS 2 straight years. But Davis insists the Mets are the team that still gives off the loser vibes. No, their broadcasters are a bunch of losers. And fans are a bunch of losers for the most part. I remember in 2021 when they were still having the sort of limited lockdown, when they would show the broadcasts, when the Mets would go down to Philadelphia and they would show broadcasts of what was going on down there. The thing that was very interesting was how during the broadcasts, they would always focus on the Mets fans in the stands. So this is how into the heads that the Mets are and the Met fans are to the Phillies fans. It's the strangest thing. Philadelphia broadcasters go after the Met fans that are sitting in the stadium. You should be happy that they're there, buying tickets, buying the food, maybe get some memorabilia for friends or for family or whatever. No, they complain. They make fun of them. They belittle them. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen from a broadcast. I'm in New York. I know it's not like this anywhere else, okay, with other teams. And I watch all the games on MLB Network when they put them on from all over the ballpark, all over the country. Seattle, San Francisco, Miami games, Toronto. Everywhere. Boston. They're the only broadcast that goes after the opposing team's fans. It's the weirdest thing. But again, they've not been able to beat the Mets at Citi Field in a long time. The Mets beat them in the playoffs when they had to. Now, this thing about 2007, 2008, I've sort of come to believe that those teams were doing all kinds of shenanigans based on the reputation of their former manager, Charlie Manuel, who in 2010, that team was accused of stealing signs and doing all kinds of crazy stuff in Philadelphia. There's also a manager that when he's with the Indians in Cleveland, that they were kind of doing that there too. So your host, putting the Columbo brain that I have, puts 2 and 2 together, and they were probably doing things down there in Philadelphia that probably weren't honest. Also, it's very odd that former players like Chase Utley, Cole Hamels, and Jimmy Rollins still go after the Mets, still belittle the Mets, still go after the Mets and their fans. It makes me feel like that's a guilty conscience. How many times do you have acceptance speeches for getting into these team Hall of Fames, and the player goes after the team that they beat? Well, Cole Hamels did that a few years ago. He got into their Hall of Fame in Philadelphia, and he did more than mention the Mets. He attacked the Mets. Jimmy Rollins did the same thing, and it's why? Who cares? Former players don't do that kind of stuff. So it's either a guilty conscience because they know. I would also say this. 2007 Mets had 4 Hall of Famers on it. 4. The 2017 does not have any Hall of Famers on it with the Phillies. Okay? Same thing with 2008. The Mets could have 5 or 6 Hall of Famers on those teams if things were done honestly. Because you can see Carlos Delgado going in and possibly David Wright. Because David looks like he's trending upward in the vote. But as you know, the 4 players are Pedro Martinez, Billy Wagner, Tom Glavine, and Carlos Beltran now. And I think a lot of the continued attacks on those teams tells me that something, human nature being human nature, something's up with that. But anyway, Ben Davis is a washed-up ball player. Nobody of note. John Kruk is a different story, and John Kruk doesn't go after the Mets like this. He doesn't do that. John Kruk is a sort of a different kind of character. He doesn't really attack the Mets in a nasty way like this. They're losers because they took a player away from your team. This doesn't make any sense. No. This isn't how they think in the backwards bizarro world. You took a player from that we wanted, but you're the losers. You act like losers. No, they act like winners. Okay? Let's sort of give, Ben Davis a bit of a history lesson. Since 2011, the Mets have 2 players who've had batting titles. They've won 3 Cy Young Awards. They have had 2 Rookie of the Years. They've made a World Series appearance. They have the best player in the game. One of the best players in the game. This is a team that has not lost 100 games since 1993. Okay? This is a team that hasn't lost 100 games like 3 times in the last 40, 50 years. The Phillies have had a very odd history because they were in baseball for almost 100 years and they didn't win anything. It wasn't until 1980 that they actually won something because they signed Pete Rose to help that team out and teach them how to win. That was a losing organization when it came to Major League Baseball. For 80 years, they were a team that had the worst collapse ever up until they cheated in 2007 and 2008. It is mathematically impossible, folks, to have the kind of collapse the Mets have. Because what you need, you have to have so many things going in your favor, including the other team winning. Okay? It's mathematically impossible. That's why for the 130-year history of the game, it only happened 1 time. Or maybe 2 times, I guess, with the 51 Dodgers. But it's mathematically... But that team, by the way, the 51 Giants were stealing signs. Okay? So it is mathematically impossible to do stuff like this. Okay? Just based on the length of the season, based on the improbability. And there's a lot of factors you got to take into account. It makes no sense. That's why it's very suspicious that happened in 2007, looking back on it. And some of the performances even with the New York Met players, specifically Ali Perez, Tom Glavine. Those guys destroyed them that season. Something very fishy happened with them, particularly with Ali Perez. Because he did 2 years in a row, by the way. And the same thing with 2025, but that's a little bit different. That was a slow draining of the blood out of the body. But if you win and sign a player, does that make you a losing team? No. Makes no sense. Like I said, this is the kind of stuff you see in the backwards bizarro world. Well, you let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. You know, when I started doing this channel and started talking about the different teams, the most thin-skinned group that I noticed was the Brave fans. They're very thin-skinned. But the Phillies fans in reality are worse. I mean, very, very bad. Because this extends to the broadcasters too. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Now, welcome back to the Prospect Hut, and this is the scouting report for the Mets' 12th best prospect according to Mason Avenue, and that is Jonathan Santucci. Now, before we get into this video, please watch the entirety of this video and hit the subscribe button and like it. The top 25 Mets prospects for 2026, Jonathan Santucci at number 12. Next on their list is a left-handed pitcher. Jonathan Santucci comes from a family of amateur baseball players, but he's the only Santucci that have gone pro. His father Stephen attended Assumption College and played baseball there from 1991 to 1993, and his cousin Nick attended Rollins College and played on their baseball team for 6 seasons from 2017 until 2022. Jonathan attended Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, where he hit .322 over the course of his 3-year varsity career and showed a great deal of promise on the mound. One of the highest regarded prospects in the state of Massachusetts, he went undrafted in the 21 draft, MLB draft, and honored his commitment to Duke University. The summer after graduating from high school, he played in the Futures Collegiate League, appearing in 2 games for the Worcester Bravehearts as a reliever and going 5 for 27 at the plate. That fall, he went on to attend Duke, and that spring, left-handed appeared in 20 games for the Blue Devils, starting as a mid-reliever, but eventually transitioning and establishing himself as a weekend starting pitcher as the months went on. On the season, the left-hander posted a 4.17 ERA in 41 innings, allowing 32 hits, walking 20, and striking out 58. He played in the Cape Cod Baseball League that summer, posting a 3.65 ERA for the Harwich Mariners in 24 2/3 innings, with 20 hits allowed, 10 walks, and 28 strikeouts. He was able to keep that momentum going in 2023 as an elbow injury limited the amount of time he was able to spend on the mound in his sophomore season back at Duke. Southport started 7 games for the Blue Devils before having his season end prematurely in March due to bone chips in his elbow. All in all, he posted a 4.30 ERA in 29 1/3 innings, allowing 27 hits, walking 16, and striking out 50. Fortunately for him, the injury was not Tommy John related, but rather an Ocaron, the bony hinge, tip of the elbow fracture, and he had surgery to have a screw inserted into his elbow to allow the bone to fuse back together properly. When left-handed returned to the mound in 24, he made up for lost time, throwing 17 scoreless innings to begin the season, scattering 10 hits, walking 7, and striking out 31. He eventually came back to earth and then in mid-May sustained a rib injury on his non-throwing side just prior to starting the game against Georgia Tech. He was originally only expected to miss a week or 2, but Santucci missed roughly a month. Returned to the mound of the NCAA Regionals, throwing 2 innings against the Oral Roberts University on June 1st. The 40-20 Blue Devils had their season end the next day, finalizing Santucci's season. In 58 innings, the left-hander posted a 3.41 ERA with 40 hits allowed, 36 walks, and 90 strikeouts. The Mets selected the southpaw in the second round of the 2024 MLB draft and signed him for $2 million plus, the exact slot value of the 46th overall pick. He was signed to the FCL Mets in early August as a roster formality, but did not pitch for them. He instead made his professional debut in 2025, pitching for the High A Brooklyn Cyclones. Appearing 15 games to the Cyclones, making 13 starts, Santucci posted a 3.46 ERA and 67 2/3 innings, allowing 62 hits, walking 23, and striking out 75. He was promoted to Double-A Binghamton in mid-July and ended his season there, posting a 2.52 ERA and 50 innings over 10 starts, allowing 33 hits, walking 18, and striking out 63. All in all, the left-hander posted a cumulative 3.06 ERA and 117 2/3 innings, scattering 95 hits, walking 41, and striking 138. His strikeout total 4th in the system. The 6'2" left-hander has a solid frame for pitching. The left-hander throws from a low 3/4 arm slot, almost exclusively working from the stretch, incorporating a leg kick and long arm action to the back. His fastball sits in the low to mid-90s, topping out as high as 97 miles per hour on stadium radar guns. Additionally, the pitch comes at batters from a flat approach angle, giving the pitch rising life, especially when thrown up in the zone. His primary secondary pitch is a slider, a tight two-plane pitch with gyroscopic break that sits in the low to mid-80s. Santucci can throw the pitch effectively to both sides of the plate and uses the pitch against left-handed batters and right-handed batters equally, though it has shown more effectiveness against left-handed batters. The pitch was his main strikeout pitch in college, and the pitch has retained its swing and miss qualifies as a professional. His changeup sits in the mid to high 80s and features a bit of arm slide fade and vertical tumble. He generally does not use the pitch much more or less, reserving it for the second and third time through and on. Command has long since been an issue for the left-hander, and all of his pitches play down when he has starts where he isn't able to locate his pitches. Coming into the season, Santucci airmailed his fastball and bounced his secondaries with alarming regularity, making it inefficient as well. While some of his command issues stem from the movement in his pitches, almost unbelievably for a highly regarded college pitching prospect who was drafted fairly high in his respective draft, some of his command issues have come down to simply needing to throw more and learn how to repeat his mechanics and release points better. Santucci was primarily an outfielder during his high school baseball days, and after transitioning to being a pitcher full-time while at Duke, he still only threw 128 in the third innings in total, supplemented by another 26 and 2/3 collegiate summer leagues. While pitching for Brooklyn, manager Gilbert Gomez observed that Santucci had to do more on-the-job learning than most pitchers his age and level, and was pleased with how the left-hander began recognizing and self-correcting issues during his tenure with the Cyclones. While he did not show any issues over the course of 2025, health may be an issue for Santucci over the course of his professional career. While his 2024 rib injury was seemingly random and has not been problematic since, the elbow issue he sustained and has surgically fixed in 23 may have a recurrent impact on his career given the location of the injury. So there are issues with him and with the injuries. That's the one thing about the 2024 draft is the Mets took on a lot of players that had already been under the knife, and Santucci is one of them. But he's got a lot of talent. I mean, if he throws strikes, he's gonna be good. You let me know what you think about this video, and of course, this is the scouting report for the Mets' 12th best prospect on Amazing Avenue, Jonathan Santucci. Hi everybody, this is Prospect Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Prospect Hut. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're back here talking about Mets prospects, and of course, all kinds of stuff. All these different lists are coming out, and the Mets are leading the way, as they should. This Mets NY, 6 Mets on Baseball America's new top 100 prospects list for 2026, including A.J. Ewing, Nolan McLean, and Carson Benj lead the way. Now, before we get into this video, of course, hit the subscribe button once you're tired of this video. The Mets have one of the best farm systems in baseball, and they're well represented on Baseball America's new top 100 prospect list ahead of the 2026 season. Here's how the Mets on the list stack up. At number 1, right-handed pitcher Nolan McLean. At number 8. Now, what's interesting about him is that he might be the best right-handed pitching prospect in the game right now. So we know what he can do. Number 19, outfielder Carson Benj, who is going to get a shot to make the opening day roster. And it's interesting about Benj and McLean. They went to the same school. They're teammates. They both played for Oklahoma State. And very exciting players. And both very similar profiles. They're both two-way players when the Mets drafted them. McLean more than Benj, but they told him, said, look, you want to pick one or the other, and you'll be great in the other. McLean dazzled in 48 innings over 8 starts during his big league debut last season, posting a 2.06 ERA and 1.04 whip while striking out 57 batters. He's expected to slot near the top of the 2026 rotation. The Mets must get a number 1 starter to help him out. Take pressure off him. Benj, who ended the 2025 season with AAA Syracuse, is expected to compete for a spot on the opening day roster and could be the starting left fielder if he makes it. And as you know, the Mets made the trade for Luis Robert Jr. At number 44, right-handed pitcher Jonah Tong. Tong showed flashes during his first taste of the majors in 2025, but his arsenal can use some refining. The thing about Tong is, remember, 2 tongs don't make a right. That's the first thing. Second thing, he's very raw. He needs a lot of he needs some experience. I think pitching last year helped him, But he needs a lot of, just with my own impression, he needs to grow up a little bit as a player and as a person a little bit. And I think that he's smart enough to figure it out, and he's really exploded on the scene as a prospect. He was the best minor league prospect and best pitching prospect last year. So I think he'll figure it out, but he needs a little work. And of course, number 71 is Jet Williams, outfielder. Williams should debut at some point in 26, but there doesn't seem to be a clear spot for him at the moment. He could be traded. Now, he was the Mets' number 1 pick in 2022 by Billy Epler, number 14th pick overall in 2022, behind Kevin Peralta, who's basically done as a prospect. But Jet Williams is sort of, when he was drafted, was very much considered like Mookie Betts, a smallish type player with power, speed, defense, ability to play in a lot of different positions. It'll be interesting to see if he's here with the Mets, what they do with him, because there really doesn't seem to be a spot right now for him. At number 81, right-handed pitcher Brandon Sproat. Sproat, like Tom, debuted in 2025. Depending on how the Mets fill out their big league rotations possible, Sproat is used in relief in the majors this season, at least for a portion of it. If not, he'll likely open the year in AAA. Unless he's traded for a big pitcher, he'll be in the minor leagues. He needs a little more. I don't know what the deal is with him. I think he needs. There's stuff that I like about him, stuff I don't like about him, but I think eventually he'll probably be in the bullpen. And the word is that he's very cool under pressure, and that things don't really bother him. So he might be the kind of guy that's a heavy lifting reliever late in the game. At number 83, outfielder A.J. Ewing. As far as Ewing, he had a breakout season in 2025, hitting .315 with 401 on base, .429 slugging percentage across 3 levels, ending with AA Binghamton. Speedy Ewing smacked 10 triples and 26 doubles while swiping 70 bases. He has a chance to be a very good player, be an everyday player, but he doesn't have any power. But he does have extra base pop. Gets his doubles, he gets his triples, just doesn't have any home run pop. But he can hit, he can play the infield, he can play the outfield. So he is a player that is, and obviously he steals bases like crazy. So he has a chance to be a very good player at the big league level. But that's sort of my take on it. I've read so many of these prospect lists. I'm starting to really know these prospects really, really well. But I would mention I've not seen them. McLean, Sproat, and Tong I've seen. A.J. Ewing and Jet Williams I've not seen. But I'm just giving you my opinion based off of all the different scouting reports I've read on them in particular, and giving you my thoughts. I think Jet Williams is going to be an everyday player. The question is whether he'll be a star. That's a different kind of thing. And with Ewing, he'll be in the majors. He might get traded too, But we'll have to see, as I always say. But you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Prospect Hut, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So I was sleeping last night when this trade went down. Now, before we get this video, I need you to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button and leave comments in the comments section. Everybody loves this Luis Robert Jr. trade. I've been warning people that Mets should not be getting him. He's a dog. Let's put it simply put. He doesn't play hard, from what I can tell, when your team is bad. If you don't play hard when your team is bad, and you don't do the right things when your team is bad, and your numbers are worse when your team is bad, that scares me. And I've talked a lot about this on the Baseball Hut too, in particular with him. Now the Mets are trying to get an upside out of him. He hit 38 home runs a few years ago, 3 years ago. Now, keep an eye on this. And just so you know, he was playing for a great manager, Tony La Russa. And Tony, as you know, gets the best out of players. Mets do not have Tony La Russa in the dugout. Okay? He is a guy that when he hit 38 home runs in 2023, he had 80 RBIs. Now, my baseball brain is telling me he does not hit well men's scoring position, hits a lot of solo home runs. Now, the couple of things that he is good at, he can steal some bases. He's pretty good defensively. He might be under what a Gold Glove defensive player is, and he hits lefties, which the Mets were terrible in 2025 hitting against left-handed pitching. Those are the positives. And this has nothing to do with what they gave up. I mean, they gave up Luis Angel Acuna, who wasn't going to play here. Okay, he's going to get a chance to be an everyday player with the White Sox. This is a good move for him in his career. But there are things about his game. I've talked about it. Everything he does is elite, but he has no slug. It's not that he doesn't have any home run power. He doesn't have any extra base power. He doesn't hit doubles. He doesn't hit triples. If you check his slugging percentage last year in the minor leagues in Syracuse, it is under 400. His OPS in the minor leagues last year was struggling to get over 700. Now, when I dug into the numbers, I followed the minor leagues, as you know, on the Prospect Channel, his numbers on the surface seem kind of odd. Because his on base is decent enough, but his slugging percentage is pathetic. He does everything elite but that, and he's an elite defensive player, elite runner, elite base stealer, but he's got no pop. None. He can hit. He's going to hit a lot of singles. But he'll get a chance to play every day with the White Sox, obviously. The White Sox are doing a lot of great things there. They finally beginning to turn their situation around now after being so bad for the last few years. But he's going to be pretty good there. But he's not. He's going to be a sort of a bench player in a good team. Now, the pitcher they gave up, Truman Pauly, he's a guy that they drafted in 2025, the 12th round selection, 373rd overall pick. He's from Harvard. He's basically a middle reliever. He will go through the system pretty quickly. I think he'll reach the majors, be honest with you. He'll get plenty of opportunities with the White Sox. But I am not happy with this trade because I just got a bad feeling about him, about Robert. Sorry. And everybody else is talking about, this is great. He loafs. And that's a major issue, obviously. Like I said, he's a DOG. Not a DAWG. The DOG. And of course, I kind of figured that, and here's the thing, I fell asleep around 11 o'clock, And this thing happened around 11:15, 11:30. And I woke up around 1:30, and I saw it. I was like, oh, that means Bellinger is not going to sign with the Mets. This had to be a pivot move for them not signing Bellinger. Because Bellinger could have played in center field, and sure enough, Bellinger went crawling back to the Yankees. I would assume the Mets did. I don't know what the offer was for the Mets, what kind of move that was. But he got a full no trade clause, some opt outs. They're gonna be paying for that deal when he's 32 years old. I would have liked to have him here, but he's in a better situation. It's a better ballpark for him, and whatever. We move on. And today they signed Luis Garcia. Was middle reliever. He's bounced around. He's been all over the place. 38 years old. He's going to be on the 40-man roster. He had a very interesting year this year, or past year. 3.42 ERA, but he sort of had these swings like a reliever does. He's a veteran arm, 603 games. I don't remember ever seeing this guy pitch. And he pitched a lot for the Phillies. I don't remember him. That might not be necessarily a good thing. And, of course, you saw today that the Mets introduced Bo Bichette. They showed Dante Bichette. He was there. And I was curious to see why Bo took the number 19 because he had number 11 with the Blue Jays. Well, I was digging, just looked on Baseball Reference, his father wore that number. So I'm going to assume he's wearing that number for his father. So that's interesting. And of course, Bichette is a great hitter, He stays healthy. He's going to have a big year this year. He's going to be awesome. I mean, really. Anyone that hasn't seen him, he hits and hits and hits. He's a hit machine. He hits everything. And he has big pitching hits, and he's clutch. That's a major problem that the Mets had in 2025. Is these guys weren't clutch enough. 381 batting average with runners in scoring position for Bo Bichette. Over 300 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. That is huge. You bat behind Soto, and there you go. There's his protection. And that guy, he's an elite player. He's an elite hitter. You haven't seen, they're gonna love him, and he's a hard-nosed player too. Wants to win. He's talking about winning today. That was awesome. We'll see how he plays at third. You know, it should be a little bit easier for him at third than it was at short. He wasn't a very good shortstop. And, of course, finally, with where the Mets going to go from here, really, it seems to be 2 options. One is through a trade to bring in starting pitching, or go to the free agent market. There was all kinds of talk about Freddy Peralta. The Mets trying to pick him up in a trade. The Mets had the best farm system in baseball, but are they willing to bite the bullet, giving up one of these prospects like Brandon Sproat? Brandon Sproat's name popped up on this. There are things about Peralta that are interesting in terms of the deals, because one, he's a big pitcher, but he's on a 1-year deal, but he's making $8 million. So any team could be willing to pick him up. Any team. There's no money situation attached to him. But the Mets are willing to trade Brandon Sproat in the deal. And I've heard Jet Williams. He was the other player, but I would think there'd probably be a third player involved in that. To be honest with you, that's one option for the Mets. A couple other options is Framber Valdez. We talked infinitum on him, and Zach Gallen. Now, Zach Gallen, these 2 guys have big problems. They both have qualifying offers attached to them. And are the Mets willing to give up more draft picks and in particular for a pitcher? They gave up 2 draft picks for Bo Bichette. For Bo. And I don't know if you want to do that with Valdez or Gallen. That's the one thing, you have to sort of ask yourself, are they willing to do that? I don't know. Would I be willing to do that? Probably not. I know the Mets signed some very talented international players the other day, last week, but those kids aren't going to be here, right away. And if you lose draft picks, the Mets have been very heavy into the college players the last 2 drafts. You willing to, lose a couple of more draft picks from college? I don't know. And I would mention the Mets do put out qualifying, or I think they put a qualifying offer for Edwin Diaz, I think. I could be wrong. Once he opted out, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But it was very much a fun-filled Mets day today and yesterday. Obviously, because Beltran getting into the Hall of Fame. We'll see and hope that he does the right thing and picks the Mets for his hat. It's really not up to him anyway, But he does give them, he does tell them a preference. He played the most games for the Mets, had the most at-bats. He's known with the Mets. I don't think most people remember that he played for the Royals, other than some Royals fans. But let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. All right, everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So one of the things that people have been complaining about is NFL analyst and former quarterback at the Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo. They're not too happy with his sort of analyzing. He seems kind of lost. The guy is lost. I don't pay attention too much about these broadcasters and these analysts on the football. Boy, people are really ripping into this guy. At least he's not stabbing anybody like Mark Sanchez is. Andrew Marchand is from announcing on Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. That chemistry, that trust is not there. Okay? When you're watching a game and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? That's usually the broadcasters. Okay. Well, let's get into this video. And of course, please hit the like button and subscribe. Comments in the comments section. It wasn't that long ago that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were considered the gold standard of modern NFL broadcasting booths. In recent years, however, CBS's top booth has experienced some reparational setbacks, often due to Romo's diminishing returns. That's not good. You know, what's going on in the booth? I mean, really. The Athletic's Andrew Marchand has been covering the situation for some time. He was the one who initially reported that CBS Brass had an intervention with Romo several years ago to get him back on track. While the company initially pushed back on that mischaracterization, former CBS Sports president Sean McManus later admitted they did meet to discuss some issues. While animus died down last season, Romo has been in the spotlight recently, and not in the best way. His performance in the wild-card game between the Bills and Jaguars was panned, leaving Marchand wondering whether Romo does his homework. While he improved in some way for Saturday's Bills-Broncos call, some of his old ticks remained. Old ticks. I mean, really, he was a good quarterback, but he's good. He looked great. Whatever's going on with Romo has been impacted the way he and Nance call games together in the eyes and ears of many viewers. Marchand previously said of his Marchand Sports Media podcast that the partnership felt like it had been regressing. On Monday, Marchand and John Medaparel discussed the NFL playoffs weekend that was, including Nance and Romo's call of the game. I tell you, that call, that Kevin Nerlin call of the Bears touchdown late in that game, that was great. And the Medaparel said he felt Romo had been disassociated during broadcast. Marchand explained how he's seen the booth evolve, working against both Nance and Romo. It seemed clear that they had a game plan going in for Romo to hang back and let Nance do the heavy lifting at the beginning, said Marchand. They tried this in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and it would have been fun if they didn't mess up the end in the Super Bowl. Tony Romo got the $180 million contract as an analyst for a variety of reasons. But his performance, he was a gunslinger. He didn't know exactly what he was going to say. He was ahead of the game. Then they tried to make him more of a game manager for the Super Bowl, and now he's their number one guy. But my sense is that CBS doesn't fully trust him. Marchand then noted moments of confusion during the broadcast, citing when Nance and Romo seemed confused by a Bills 4th and 1 play at the goal line, presuming it was a first down. Sometimes these executives, they got to let their talent be their talent. That might be it. I mean, it might be overanalyzing what's going on here with them. Quote, you don't get that confusion with Buck and Aikman. You don't get that confusion with Iron Eagle and J.J. Watt. You don't get that confusion with Burkhardt and Brady. You don't get that confusion with Tirico and Collinsworth. When you're watching a game and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? That's usually the broadcasters. That chemistry, that trust is not there. That Buck and Aikman trust, that I know you're going to go to the right place there, is not there and hasn't been for a long time. Both Marchand and Medaparel ended by acknowledging that while some of this might be nitpicking, the standards that come with being the number one booth command a high bar, and there's a reason this booth gets criticized and others don't. Well, again, if you have a guy that's sort of a gunslinger and he does things shooting from the hip, I guess that Romo was known to do, and then these executives come in with all their little suggestions. Sometimes that can muddy the water. Sometimes you got to let your talent be your talent. But if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, get him out of here. Fire him. Fire him, or not have him work with Jim Nance. I mean, Jim Nance is a great broadcaster. So what the hell is he working with this subpar analyst at this point? I don't get it. Well, you let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3. I'll see you later. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So we're going to take you to a wonderful moment in WFAN. Current history And that's of the psycho killer of Chris McMonagle. And if you see pictures of him, he looks like, quite frankly, and this is all fun, it's like an axe murderer. But now you're starting to see some smiles, and he's happy, and well, that's good. And maybe we can all be safe. He's not in the streets causing havoc. But as you know, is now at the center. He's got to be successful in the job that he has now, because that will bring him big money and all these things that come with it. All this responsibility. Because at the end of the day, like I've said many times, his partner, Craig Carton, that comeback will not last long. Okay? Comebacks don't last long. And I'm not being mean. It's just how it is. But you never know. But this from Barra Media. How Chris McMonagle landed in afternoons with Craig Carton at WFAN. It's been a lifelong dream just to be the overnight host. It felt was a dream. I felt it was a dream. And I felt I was just becoming accustomed to that role. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a crazy but exciting couple of months, says the Psycho Killer. It's been a very busy few months for Odyssey's sports radio flagship WFAN in New York City. Craig Carton's return to the legendary radio brand for a third run created truth to rumors that had lasted for months following the departure from breakfast bowls on FS1. Amid the changes came an opportunity for Carton's former producer and also former Chris McMonagle, a WFAN lifer who worked his way from an intern in 2007 to full-time overnight host in July of 2023. Now, it's interesting, they've not announced who the next overnight person is going to be. They're going to have a whole cast of a whole cast of characters, a whole cast of hosts coming in to do the overnight. Today, the dream he had from childhood continues on the grandest stage of them all. Afternoon drive in New York City on the brand that defined the format. So we're going from Mike and the Mad Dog to Chris McMonagle. I haven't even picked my head up yet to think about the pressure of afternoon drive. I'm trying to focus on getting things started and doing the best I can. But it's obvious there's more pressure and eyes on us, said McMonagle. It's an incredible experience so far, and I'm really excited about it. What do you mean by us? I don't know. McMonagle spent the last 2.5 years as the guiding voice for WFAN's overnight programming. He said sidecar for so many working the third shift, keeping them entertained while connecting on a personal level. His efforts during that time were not ignored. That's tough being overnight. It's the reason why they haven't had a lot of overnight guys over the last 40 years. They're basically really two guys and a bunch of other people after that. They had Steve Summers, me here and you there. The schmools. Let me read you my ad libs. And he was there for like 100 years. And he looks it too, by the way. My goodness. He started out, he was a big, heavy guy. He looks like Uguay from Kung Fu Panda. Without the shell. The opportunity presented. And then, of course, they had the one guy at the radio station your host doesn't like. That's Joe Beningo. McMonagle says he was approached by Odyssey's chief business officer and New York market president, Chris Olivero, in mid-November, but an opportunity he did not see coming. Quote, I had some time with it before it was announced. It was an exciting surprise, said McMonagle. It's been a lifelong dream just to be the overnight host. I felt it was a dream, and I felt I was just becoming accustomed to that role. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a crazy but exciting couple of months. Now, I would believe, and I think, that they went to Evan Roberts first. And I think they went to Evan and said, hey, uneven Evan, we want to bring back Craigie. Do you want to team up with him? No, I'm married to Tiki, okay? And then they had to scramble and figure out who they wanted to put in there. Or it might have been a situation they knew that Uneven wasn't interested. Following his initial conversation before the Thanksgiving holiday, McMonagle says station management kept him fully in the loop about the potential opportunity. His experience as Carton's producer for over 2 years alongside Evan Roberts, Uneven Evan, helped build strong camaraderie between them. As a result, McMonagle felt that a reunion, although in a new setting as co-host, would be a smooth and comfortable fit. Now it's just speaking less. The idea of sharing the time and establishing the rhythm of the back and forth is different, said McMonagle. Craig opens the show, leads the calls and segments. Those are all things I've been doing exclusively for over 2 years. Sometimes when the music comes back, I caught myself just turning on the mic to start. It's just getting used to it. When Carton departed WFN to take on a role with Fox Sports in 2023, McMonagle knew it would be his last stop with the station. He knew Carton's legacy with the brand, along with the ability to generate ratings and revenue success over the 2 previous stints, wouldn't keep him away from a third crack in the Big Apple. Did you say another bite of the Big Apple? A future unknown. During the time following Carton's exit to Fox Sports, McMonagle says he wasn't worried about Carton taking his overnight position at WFAN. He didn't allow rumors of a return to affect his focus, knowing that being an overnight host insulated him from much of the scuttlebutt surrounding the prime day parts. And it just gets the bullshit at night. Nobody bothers you. Now Carton back in the afternoons, and Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber in middays, and Sal Licata and Brandon Tierney out. McMonagle feels that the WFAN weekday lineup has a big feel and every day part. So was he saying that BT and Spaz weren't doing a good job? No, that's not nice. While excited to be trusted as a key part of that lineup, he admits he didn't always believe the opportunity would come at WFAN. Along the way, there were times where WFAN felt very stagnant. The guys from behind the glass weren't getting a lot of opportunities. There were times when it became a challenge. You felt you had to leave it if you want to get on air. There were absolutely times at the station where I felt I didn't know where this is all going. I love the station, I want to be here, but is this the best place for me? Change is never easy, and WFN navigated a very public transition over the past few months with Carton's return. While McMonagle's role was elevated, station management ultimately decided that Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata would depart, or AKA hit the road. Pound sand, get lost, disappear. And the weeks following the official announcement, the Coconut and Spaz were given the opportunity to close out their program on their own terms. McMonagle praised the way the Coconut and Spaz handled a very public and difficult situation. In radio, you don't always get the last show. Chris Russo didn't get that. Well, that's because he quit. That guy quit. He walked away. We've always heard once, it's over, said McMonagle. I know Coconut and Spaz will be great with whatever's next. They handled it incredibly well, and I thought the station did well too. It went as well as it probably could have. Well, it could have went. I'm all right. The next generation. I just love this article. This goes on and on. McMonagle's career path has always been tied to WFAN. The story reflects hard work, dedication, and embracing opportunity when it presents itself. He jokes that hard work never goes out of style, but the sentiment rings true when applied to this journey. Although his story now continues into the afternoon drive, McMonagle is often asked for guidance by those trying to break into the industry. He recognized that his path was shaped by the timing of his entry. He also acknowledges that the landscape for breaking through sports radio is much different today. The difference is it might be easier than ever to get started. There are so many platforms and different things to find and be a part of, but maybe that makes it more difficult to cut through. There's still a role to go somewhere and do whatever it takes to get somewhere and stay relevant in that company. But it's a different world. There are more ways now to do it than just one. See, you don't have to work for these guys. You don't have to work for WFAN. Okay, you could do your own thing. You could start your own YouTube channel. You could do stuff on Spotify. You can be anywhere on any platform. You want to do a show on X, you can do a show on X. You want to do something on Facebook, you can do something on Facebook. There's nothing stopping you. And if you don't want to go through the bullshit of going into one of these broadcasting schools, you can do it online. You can do it on YouTube. You can find, there's so much stuff on YouTube. I'll give you an example. I was taking a Spanish class years ago. I don't speak Spanish. I barely speak English. I barely speak English properly. But my lady friend, my ex-girlfriend, told me, she said, look, why don't you watch these, how to speak in Spanish on YouTube. This was years ago. And I was like, but then I started doing it and it helped me pass that class. That helped me pass that class. So you can find anything on YouTube. I could probably look and see what would be good. I should do that for myself. How to be on the radio. You could do that. You don't need this nonsense of doing these broadcasting nonsense. This broadcasting and spending like thousands and thousands of dollars and be stuck in debt. Or you don't even have to do that. If you got a phone like I have here, just turn it on and that's it. That's it. Or do it on the computer. That's it. That's all you need. If you're funny, if you're entertaining, that's all you need. You don't need to go through all this struggle, being on the overnights. You can do your own shit. And do whatever you want. Be your own boss. But I noticed that some of these former WFAN people, they don't want to be their own boss. They got to have sponsors. And when you have a sponsor, they tell you what to do. They tell you what to say. Or they tell you what you can't say. It's not so much what you can say. It's a lot of times what you can't say. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, this is another visit to the insane asylum. And another visit to the nervous hospital known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So we're going to take you to a wonderful moment in WFAN current history, and that's of the psycho killer of Chris McMonagle. And if you see pictures of him, he looks like, quite frankly, and this is all fun, it's like an axe murderer. But now you're starting to see some smiles, and he's happy, and well, that's good. And maybe we can all be safe. He's not in the streets causing havoc. But, as you know, is now at the center. He's got to be successful in the job that he has now, because that will bring him big money and all these things that come with it. All this responsibility. Because at the end of the day, like I've said many times, his partner, Craig Carton, that comeback will not last long. Okay? Comebacks don't last long. And I'm not being mean. It's just how it is. But you never know. But this from Barra Media. How Chris McMonagle landed in afternoons with Craig Carton at WFAN. It's been a lifelong dream just to be the overnight host. It felt was a dream. I felt it was a dream. And I felt I was just becoming accustomed to that role. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a crazy but exciting couple of months, says the psycho killer. It's been a very busy few months for Odyssey's sports radio flagship WFAN in New York City. Craig Carton's return to the legendary radio brand for a third run created truth to rumors that had lasted for months following the departure from breakfast bowls on FS1. Amid the changes came an opportunity for Carton's former producer and also former Chris McMonagle, a WFAN lifer who worked his way from an intern in 2007 to full-time overnight host in July of 2023. Now, what's interesting, they've not announced who the next overnight person is going to be. They're going to have a whole cast of a whole cast of characters, a whole cast of hosts coming in to do the overnight. Today, the dream he had from childhood continues on the grandest stage of them all. Afternoon drive in New York City on the brand that defined the format. So we're going from Mike and the Mad Dog to Chris McMonagle. I haven't even picked my head up yet to think about the pressure of afternoon drive. I'm trying to focus on getting things started and doing the best I can. But it's obvious there's more pressure and eyes on us, said McMonagle. It's an incredible experience so far, and I'm really excited about it. What do you mean by us? I don't know. McMonagle spent the last 2.5 years as the guiding voice for WFAN's overnight programming. He said sidecar for so many working the third shift, keeping them entertained while connecting on a personal level. His efforts during that time were not ignored. That's tough, being overnight. It's the reason why they haven't had a lot of overnight guys over the last 40 years. They're basically really 2 guys and a bunch of other people after that. They had Steve Summers, me here and you there. The schmools. Let me read you my ad libs. And he was there for like 100 years. And he looks it too, by the way. My goodness. He started out, he was a big, heavy guy. He looks like Uguay from Kung Fu Panda. Without the shell. The opportunity presented. And then, of course, they had the one guy at the radio station your host doesn't like. That's Joe Beningo. McMonagle says he was approached by Odyssey's chief business officer and New York market president, Chris Olivero, in mid-November, of an opportunity he did not see coming. Quote, I had some time with it before it was announced. It was an exciting surprise. Said McMonagle, it's been a lifelong dream just to be the overnight host. I felt it was a dream, and I felt I was just becoming accustomed to that role. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a crazy but exciting couple of months. Now, I would believe and I think that they went to Evan Roberts first. And I think they went to Evan and said, hey, Uneven Evan, we want to bring back Craigie. Do you want to team up with him? No, I'm married to Tiki, okay? And then they had to scramble and figure out who they wanted to put in there. Or it might have been a situation they knew that Uneven wasn't interested. Following his initial conversation before the Thanksgiving holiday, McMonagle says station management kept him fully in the loop about the potential opportunity. His experience as Carnes producer for over 2 years alongside Evan Roberts, Uneven Evan, helped build strong camaraderie between them. As a result, McMonagle felt that a reunion, although in a new setting as co-host, would be a smooth and comfortable fit. Now it's just speaking less. The idea of sharing the time and establishing the rhythm of the back and forth is different, said McMonagle. Craig opens the show, leads the calls and segments. Those are all things I've been doing exclusively for over 2 years. Sometimes when the music comes back, I caught myself just turning on the mic to start. It's just getting used to it. When Carton departed WFN to take on a role with Fox Sports in 2023, McMonagle knew it would be his last stop with the station. He knew Carton's legacy with the brand, along with his ability to generate ratings and revenue success over the 2 previous stints, wouldn't keep him away from a third crack in the Big Apple. Did you say another bite of the Big Apple? A future unknown. During the time following Carton's exit to Fox Sports, McMonagle says he wasn't worried about Carton taking his overnight position at WFAN. He didn't allow rumors of a return to affect his focus, knowing that being an overnight host insulated him from much of the scuttlebutt surrounding the prime day parts. Yeah, it just gets the bullshit at night. Nobody bothers you. Now Carton back in the afternoons and Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber in middays, and Sal Licata and Brandon Tierney out. McMonagle feels that the WFAN weekday lineup has a big feel and every day part. So was he saying that BT and the Spaz weren't doing a good job? No, that's not nice. While excited to be trusted as a key part of that lineup, he admits he didn't always believe the opportunity would come at WFAN. Along the way, there were times where WFAN felt very stagnant. The guys from behind the glass weren't getting a lot of opportunities. There were times when it became a challenge. You felt you had to leave it if you want to get on air. There were absolute times at the station where I felt I didn't know where this is all going. I love the station, I want to be here, but is this the best place for me? Change is never easy, and WFN navigated a very public transition over the past few months with Carton's return. While McMonagle's role was elevated, station management ultimately decided that Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata would depart, or AKA hit the road. pound sand, get lost, disappear. And the weeks following the official announcement, the Coconut and Spaz were given the opportunity to close out their program on their own terms. McMonagle praised the way the Coconut and Spaz handled a very public and difficult situation. In radio, you don't always get the last show. Chris Russo didn't get that. Well, that's because he quit. That guy quit. He walked away. We've always heard once, it's over, said McMonagle. I know Coconut and Spaz will be great with whatever is next. They handled it incredibly well, and I thought the station did well too. It went as well as it probably could have. Well, it could have went. I'm all right. The next generation. I just love this article. This goes on and on. McMonagle's career path has always been tied to WFAN. The story reflects hard work, dedication, and embracing opportunity when it presents itself. He jokes that hard work never goes out of style, but the sentiment rings true when applied to this journey. Although his story now continues into the afternoon drive, McMonagle is often asked for guidance by those trying to break into the industry. He recognized that his path was shaped by the timing of his entry. He also acknowledges that the landscape for breaking through sports radio is much different today. The difference is it might be easier than ever to get started. There are so many platforms and different things to find and be a part of, but maybe that makes it more difficult to cut through. There's still a role to go somewhere and do whatever it takes to get somewhere and stay relevant in that company. But it's a different world. There are more ways now to do it than just one. See, you don't have to work for these guys. You don't have to work for WFAN. Okay, you could do your own thing. You could start your own YouTube channel. You could do stuff on Spotify. You can be anywhere on any platform. You want to do a show on X, you can do a show on X. You want to do something on Facebook, you can do something on Facebook. There's nothing stopping you. And if you don't want to go through the bullshit of going into one of these broadcasting schools, you can do it online. You can do it on YouTube. You can find, there's so much stuff on YouTube. I'll give you an example. I was taking a Spanish class years ago. I don't speak Spanish. I barely speak English. I barely speak English properly. But my lady friend, my ex-girlfriend, told me, she said, look, why don't you watch these, how to speak in Spanish on YouTube. This was years ago. And I was like, but then I started doing it and it helped me pass that class. That helped me pass that class. So you can find anything on YouTube. I could probably look and see what would be good. I should do that for myself. How to be on the radio. You could do that. You don't need this nonsense of doing these broadcasting nonsense. This broadcasting and spending like thousands and thousands of dollars and be stuck in debt. Or you don't even have to do that. If you got a phone like I have here, just turn it on and that's it. That's it. Or do it on the computer. That's it. That's all you need. If you're funny, if you're entertaining, that's all you need. You don't need to go through all this struggle, being on the overnights. You can do your own shit. And do whatever you want. Be your own boss. But I noticed that some of these former WFAN people, they don't want to be their own boss. They got to have sponsors. And when you have a sponsor, they tell you what to do. They tell you what to say. Or they tell you what you can't say. It's not so much what you can say. It's a lot of times what you can't say. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, this is another visit to the insane asylum. And another visit to the nervous hospital known as WFAN. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball High, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So they had the Hall of Fame voting today. They finally got the results, and we got 2 new Hall of Famers. First up, Andrew Jones. I don't really care about him because he's a Brave. 10 Gold Gloves, 400 home runs, fine. Not a particularly big fan of the Braves, as you know. Not a fan of the Braves. But the big news here at the Hut is that Carlos Beltran got in. 84.2% of the vote. Great. He had 70% last year. Just got under. And we kind of figured that he was going to get in this year. And what's not to say about him? He's a great guy. Over 400 home runs as a switch hitter. They sort of didn't really dive so deeply into this on the MLB network, surprisingly. He's a switch hitter. Top 5, top 6 all-time home runs and as a switch hitter. That's a big deal. They show a lot of his left-handed home runs, not too many of his right-handed home runs. Great power hitter, and just great RBI man, over 1,500 RBIs, over 2,700 hits. It was just a little under 300 hits to get to 3,000. Really not a lot, anything negative to say. Over 300 stolen bases. He's the 5th major leaguer ever to do that. Have 500, 400 home run, over 400 home runs. I think it's 400 home runs, 500 doubles, and 300 stolen bases. It's crazy statistics. Up there with A-Rod and Andre Dawson and Barry Bonds and of course the immortal Willie Mays. So he's up there in rarefied air as a player. And great defensive center fielder, as you know, as you remember as a Met fan. Great clutch hitter. Always wanted him up at the plate in a big spot. He had one bad at bat in his whole career. I mean, to be honest with you. And because he was going up against a guy who's a Hall of Fame pitcher. But he had a great career. And hopefully everything's upward and onward with him. And I hope one day, and I don't want to say anything negative about the current manager, I'd really like to see him be the manager of this New York Mets team moving forward. He should get that job back, to be honest with you. But maybe he will someday. But he was a wonderful player to watch. I couldn't get enough of him. I always felt confident when he was up at the plate. That 2006 season was just an awesome year. Every at bat he got he always seemed to get a big hit every at bat. And we can't forget about how well he played in 2008 in September. Carried the Mets on his back, doing everything he could to help them get to the postseason. Unfortunately, they didn't do it. And remember that big home run he hit the day before the last game. Again, when Johan Santana pitched that big game that Saturday afternoon. He was just a wonderful player. He has the highest stolen base percentage of any Hall of Famer now. Just, what was it, like 80-something, 85, 86, 87%. I mean, almost automatic in getting a stolen base and not being thrown out. Just incredible. Just incredible numbers. And just a smart player. And eventually became like a leader. I was watching this little, this little segment on MLB on Tuesday. Cliff Floyd talking to him, and he said that the first 10 years of his career, he wasn't happy. He wasn't a very happy player. And then in the last, 10 years of his career, he was very happy as a player. He was very satisfied with the kind of things that he had done. Now, it'd be interesting to see where he goes. Will he go in as a New York Met, or will he go in as a Kansas City Royal? Because he was there with the Royals for many, many years before he got traded to Houston, and he had tremendous years with the Royals. Put himself on the map, but really, when you play in New York, there's really nothing second best when it comes to anything. And to be honest with you, I think money wise, he'd be better off going in as a Met than as a Yankee. To be honest with you, I mean, it's not as a Yankees. I mean, as a Kansas City Royals. I'm all right. He was the 1990. People don't know this about him. He was the 1999 Rookie of the Year, which is in the American League. Most fans, I don't think, remember that, even know that. Just a tremendous player, and happy to see that. And he's now the second Met to go into the Hall of Fame this year, with Jeff Kent being the first. So he's not going to go in as a Met or go in as a Giant. But Jeff Kent was here for many, many years with the Mets. I had my issues with him. He wasn't the most cuddly personality, but the numbers speak for themselves. Just to go through the vote a little bit. Andrew Jones gets 78.4%. He started out less than 10% on the ballot. I think 8% he started the first year, and he was able to get in on the 9th year. He was getting to the nitty-gritty here. Beltran was on the 4th year with the ballot. That jerk-off, Chase Utley, is in the 3rd year. He's going to get in, unfortunately. Now, I would mention next year, there's really 2 big players next year going in for the first time on the ballot. That's John Lester and Buster Posey. Buster Posey's going to get on the first ballot. John Lester will get in, but it's going to take him a little bit. Because you got to really do a deep dive on Lester. Lester has 2 careers. You know, his career with the Red Sox and his career with the Cubs. And those 2 careers are very historic because he was part of like 2 historic groups and 2 historic teams. So that has to be taken into account. And the second part of his career with the Cubs, he was like the first big move of the Cubs during the Theo Epstein era there. So that's kind of important. Andy Pettit. Now we go back to the ballot for this year. Chase Utley is a jerk. And sorry, they talked about integrity and character. Just horrible. Horrible. Andy Pettit. Again, a steroid guy, and how he's on here is unbelievable. Felix Hernandez, second year in the ballot, he's going to get in because he was a dominant pitcher when he pitched. He just did. This team didn't score runs for him. He wasn't on a good team. 418 starts in his career, never made a postseason start. A-Rod still on the ballot. A-Rod's an all-timer, but because of his background, he ain't getting it. Manny Ramirez, ditto, but he's off the ballot because he spent 10 years on it. Bobby Abreu, believe it or not, is on the ballot still at 30.8%. Good player, not a great player. Jimmy Rollins, another guy, good player, not a great player. You know, at 25.4% of the ballot, of the vote. And from what I understand, that people were kind of interested in seeing that he did not get more votes this year. But what's interesting about him is they said this on the MLB Network on Tuesday, was that he has the second most extra base hits for a shortstop behind Cal Ripken. Another jerk from the Phillies, Cole Hamels, on the first year in the ballot, 23.8%. He's not a Hall of Famer. And he's another one that's very obsessed with the New York Mets. Because we don't get into that. Dustin Pedroia, he should be higher on this list. He should be much, much higher. Because Pedroia, if you watched him in his career, even though it wasn't a long career, he was a Hall of Famer. Mark Burley had great moments, not a Hall of Famer. Omar Vizquel, well, he should have kept his hands to himself. He had a good shot at getting in until he got himself into trouble. Frankie Rodriguez got 50 votes. He's still on the ballot. I'm surprised he's still on the ballot. Torrey Hunter, 37 votes. He's still on the ballot. I was looking at his numbers. His numbers are pretty good. I don't know if he's a very good player. I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame. He's a little short in some areas. And the other player on the ballot still, he's going to be on the ballot next year, is David Wright. I think David's going to be on this ballot for 10 years. I had gone through the numbers of his and of that of Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland played a little bit longer, had better health, but David Wright's numbers were better, and David was a MVP type player. Scott Rowland was not. How Scott Rowland, the first ballot Hall of Famer, is beyond me, in my opinion. As a defensive third baseman, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but the bat wasn't as good as David Wright's bat, and that's why I was surprised that he got in the first ballot. Very surprised. So I didn't think he was that good, in my opinion. So his whole career, he was good. He wasn't like the centerpiece of your team. He was like a 6-hitter on your team a lot of times if you had a team that was good. I believe he was the 6-hitter on that Cardinals team that won. So he really wasn't like, in my opinion, a player that was so great. And then you see David Wright, who was a contemporary of his, had better numbers, bigger years, an MVP type player. And he's only got 63 votes this year. But 14.8%, and went up from last year. I think it was like 8% last year. So he's still on the ballot. He's going to be on this for a while. Because you have to really study his numbers, and then you see how good he was. And this is not a situation with, it's very similar to Don Mattingly in a lot of ways. But if you look at the numbers from 2004 to 2013, other than 2-3 years there, he's right there as a Hall of Famer. Just keep that in mind. The problem is a lot of these other players, the longevity is what hurts him. But we'll see. But like I said, the big news obviously is that Carlos Beltran's in the Hall of Fame. We'll see if the Mets retire his number as well, because he's being honored also getting into the Mets Hall of Fame. The Mets have not announced the day of the big ceremony, because Bobby Valentine's is going to be involved in that, and it's going to be huge. And I guess the other player is John Matlack. So we got a lot of things going on this summer with the Mets, and they've not announced that they're going to have I would have a separate day for him. Probably have 2 days for him, if that. Him getting in the Hall of Fame with these other guys, and having his number retired, and getting into the Hall of Fame, the big Hall of Fame. So there's a lot going on. The Mets have to weigh these options. So let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball at 2, and I'll see you later. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Head, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. I just want to give you an update on the whole Cody Bellinger situation. It's down to 4 teams from what we've heard. The Scott Boras whisperer, John Heyman, put out a tweet earlier saying that he's weighing his interest between 4 teams: the Mets, the Yankees, and 2 others. I'm going to assume the 2 others are the Dodgers, because we've heard the Dodgers, and the Phillies. There's some desperate teams here, particularly the Phillies, who have egg on their face, and they ain't too happy that Bo Bichette's signed with the Mets. I understand they've been sort of belly aching about it down there in Philadelphia. Oh well, too bad. Too bad. Very I don't know why the Mets are so into their heads, but it's just how it is, I guess. But Bellinger, like I said in the previous video about him, what I would offer him is 3 years, $150 million. I think it's pretty fair. It's in line with some of the newer deals that are out there. You can become a free agent after the year, go back out on the market. If he gets less money next year, at least he made $50 million plus an option or whatever the money is. And it's just very good baseball sense, business sense, really. And I will say, a lot of people a lot of great comments on the last video, so I appreciate that. But that's kind of where we're at with that, I think, right now. We weren't going to hear anything on Tuesday because of the fact that we had the Hall of Fame voting, and the 2 new Hall of Famers, Carlos Beltran and, of course, Andrew Jones. I don't really care about Andrew Jones. It's scum-sucking brave, to be honest with you. But Carlos Beltran got in today, and it's great to see. He's a great player. He's a good guy, from what I can tell. And he should have gotten in a few years ago. This nonsense with this whole thing with the Astros situation was just ridiculous. He's the only player named in the thing, in the report. It's terrible that he took the hit, only because he wasn't playing anymore. He was retired, but very well deserved. And I was thinking about this. The 2007 Mets, which did not win anything. 2006 Mets didn't win anything. 2007 Mets didn't win anything. The Mets had 3 Hall of Famers on those teams. 3 Hall of Famers. You believe that? Tom Glavine, Pedro Martinez, and Carlos Beltran. And interestingly enough, why isn't Carlos Delgado getting more talk about, getting more love? If you look at his numbers are staggering. And I would mention, though, David Wright is still on the ballot. He's going to be on this ballot probably the whole entire 10 years. He's got 7 years to go. He's at 14%. He's at 14.8%, and he went up from last year and went up from the year before. We'll see where he's at next year. Okay, if he gets into the 25 range with 6 years left on the ballot, he's got a shot. He's got a shot. But some very disturbing names that are still on this ballot. 2 in particular, that skunk Chase Utley, one of the dirtiest players we've seen in a long time. And Andy Pettit. Andy Pettit is like a stool pigeon. He points fingers at people, being on steroids. Oh, Roger Clemens was on steroids. And I took him too. But meanwhile, he's still on the ballot. How? Very, very strange. That's typical Brighter's nonsense. Standing for one player who's not nearly as great as some of the other players, but he's still on the ballot, and he's probably going to get in. But that's what's happened here today, and I didn't want to do a long video because we're not going to get any big moves today anyway. But I wanted to get this little update out there for you when it came to Bellinger. But let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.